what I want to do today, okay, I want to go over and answer the question, what causes weight gain? Okay, what does it actually mean to be fat? And the reason for this is because unless you know the root cause of why you specifically gained weight in the first place, you will always be in danger of going back. It doesn't matter how motivated you are in the moment, how consistent you've been in the past. If you do not know specifically your reason for gaining weight, you are always in danger of going back, right? We've lost all this weight. We don't want to ever have to go find it, right? We're not looking to find the weight that we've lost. So let's start with some questions, ladies. So in the comment section, write down, what is the heaviest you've ever been? So what's the heaviest weight you have ever been? And when was that? Was it a couple weeks ago? Was it a couple years ago? What's that number? Because that number is important. That number means more than just a number, right? That number means it was probably a very low point in your life for you to be that heavy, right? So what do we got? You got some 148s, 197, 10 years ago, 180 plus, heaviest non-pregnant weight, 168. All right, so we got high hundreds. So this is our heaviest weight. So I want us to kind of travel back in time to this point, okay? What had happened in your life that had led you to gain so much weight? What was that? Was there a big moment? Did you just have a kid? Did you get a promotion in work? What was that big life shift that caused this weight gain? That kind of started the domino effect. What was it? Married and miserable. Oh my goodness. We're going right in. We're going right in. We ain't holding back. Married and miserable. There you go. That's what I want, guys. Dig deep. What was that thing that happened in your life? Had a baby with a heart condition. Oh, yep, that would do it. Got in an accident. Yep. Unhappy and drinking a lot. Okay, love it. So get in that mindset of where we were, okay? Now, when you were this weight, okay, what habits did you start to build? What were some of the habits you started to build? Okay, the really, really bad ones. And don't be generic. I don't want to hear like just binge eating. I want to hear your specific habits, okay? We can't avoid them. We don't want to hide from them. What were the embarrassing, what were the shameful habits that you it's really hard for you to say out loud? So for me, my heaviest weight, I was over 200 freaking pounds. I literally gasped out loud when I saw that number on the scale. I never in a million years thought I would see a 2 in front of my number. I was over 200 pounds. The cause of it was because I started a business with Coach Ryan, and I put myself last. I didn't take care of myself at all. I brushed my teeth and I had a shower. That's pretty much the extent of my self-care. So I gained a ton of weight. And the habits that I had were absolutely disgusting and shameful. And when I was in it, no way would I ever share these habits or ever admit it. But now looking back, they don't control me. They don't have power over me. And I don't really succumb to them anymore. So I'm not afraid to share them with you guys. But some habits, really bad habit, I would binge eat, but I would extreme binge eat, like so much so where I would be finishing what I was eating and I'd already be in the kitchen for something else. I used to have to make myself throw up because I ate so much food. I was just so uncomfortably full. I just mindlessly ate, like, does anybody else mindlessly eat? And then before you know it, you're like in the bottom of the chip bag and you're like, holy shit, it's crazy. Other bad habits I had, I would hide food. I would hide food around my house. So I didn't want people to see me eat it, so I knew where it was so I could eat it by myself. I'd sneak food late at night in the pantry, hope no one would hear me. I got really good at getting rid of the evidence, like getting rid of crumbs and hiding wrappers where no one would see them. So it was really toxic, really bad, right? So what are those habits for you? Okay, let's revisit them. So ate what I wanted, didn't care. Yep, snacking late at night, eating nonstop, beer every day, bullied a lot. Yep. So you stop caring about what you look like. Yep. So these are the habits. These are the things that you were ashamed of. And these habits were the things that you tried to fix for so long, right? You tried to fix those habits, right? I want to eat better. I want to exercise more. I want to get confidence, right? We're trying to, whenever we think about how we want to fix ourselves, we think about the habits we want to fix, right? How do I get motivated? How do I stay consistent? And you guys know your body is a symptom. So even targeting habits is you're targeting the symptom, not the root cause. So these habits you just discussed, these habits you just pulled up, okay, from your memory and what you used to do, maybe you still do them a little bit, maybe they're completely gone. It depends on where you are in your journey. But these habits, if you can describe in just one sentence, all the habits you had in one sentence, what it boiled down to, what was the problem, what would it be? What was the problem in one sentence? And this is going to be interesting to see where our minds take us here. This is what I'm looking for. Mackie likes cheese, she said. She ate everything and anything with cheese. I feel ya. I used to melt cheese on the weirdest things. I'm like, it's cheese, whatever. So those habits you have, what in one sentence is the problem? Okay, so not the thing that caused the domino effect. What would you kind of gift wrap those habits in? Emotional eating, there we go, good. Emptiness, good, now we're getting it. So take a second, you can write your own answer there. Emotional, all right, I love it. So, yeah, it looks like a lot emotional because you didn't like the way that you felt and looked, exactly. So here we go, we're going deeper, we're peeling back a layer, okay? So you have your habits. Then you have the reason you think you have those habits, right? Emotional eating seems like everybody's kind of vice is emotional eating, mine as well. I also find that I'm a procrastinator. I just made that name up, procrastinator. So I would eat instead of doing something. I would eat because I knew I had to do something. I would eat to procrastinate from doing something. So we have the habit. We have the emotion behind the habit. Now, ladies, I'm challenging you. Peel back that layer one more time. What is behind the emotional eating? What's the cause of the emotional eating? And it's not a specific scenario. It's not a circumstance or a situation. It boils down to, what's that magic word? It starts with an E. Excuses. So what's the excuse you have been telling yourself, convincing yourself that you suffer from or suffered from emotional eating? So what's the excuse that you've hung on to, or that story you've held on to, that false belief that you are powerless when it comes to your emotions? And the reason I ask this, and the reason I go this deep, is because, like I said, you're always in danger of going back to where you were if you don't find that root cause, okay? And the root cause always boils down to a handful of things. Whatever you think it is, if you keep peeling, keep asking questions, it's always going to come down to this. It's either you're lazy, you're not prioritizing your time, or you're impatient. Pretty much every habit, every bad habit you're looking to change boils down to those three things. If you address those three things, the habit will start to go away. Is this making sense? So, an example for me. So I would binge like crazy, and I would do that. Why? What caused my binging? Well, it was because I would be very restrictive. When I tried to lose weight the first couple times, I would be very, very restrictive. So I'd be like all or nothing. I would be like salads every day, cardio 7 times a week, and I was like all in 110%. And then when I fell off hard, really hard. And like so hard, I would lose the progress it took me months to get. I would lose it in less than a month. And the reason for this was because I was being so restrictive. It was because I was impatient. I was impatient to reach my goals. So I tried to reach them faster. I tried to rush to the end, and I didn't appreciate the journey or who I was becoming along the way. So my habit of binge eating stemmed from me being impatient and trying to take a shortcut and being lazy. Are you guys seeing this link? So start making these connections in your mind. So why is this important? All right, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're impatient, if you're lazy, if you don't prioritize your time for your health, it shows up in other areas as well, which we don't ever talk about, right? When we say we want to lose weight, we just look towards diets and exercise, when really it's a holistic approach, right? If you're struggling in this area, you're definitely struggling in another area. But here's the thing, you don't always question the other areas. You don't ever think there's a struggle in the other areas. So that's what I want to do right now, okay? So you have that heaviest you've been. You have what caused it. You have the habits that you developed, and now you have the real cause, right? Yes, it was emotional eating, but why did you develop that emotional eating? What was going on that made you so unable to cope with your emotions that they came out in this way? You were probably either lazy and didn't face your emotions and avoided them and buried them in food. You were impatient and didn't want to go through the heartache of working through emotions or talking with somebody, so you buried it in food. Or you didn't prioritize your time properly to give yourself the free space, the mental space to actually heal from whatever the stress was in your life. Is this making sense? Is this ringing true? So we peel it back, and that's where we are. So now we're here, okay? So now we need to see how is this coming in other areas, okay? So if I'm lazy in my weight loss, or if I'm going into my journey knowing that laziness and impatience is something that I'm going to have to battle, okay, I need to battle it in every aspect. I cannot just focus it in on my weight loss. Otherwise, it will come up again in my weight loss. I need to get rid of it everywhere to be safe, to never fear backpedaling, okay? So let's take a second. If I'm impatient in my eating habits, if I'm impatient towards getting my results, let's break apart the different aspects of your life. So my relationship. How am I impatient in my relationship? How am I lazy in my relationship? Well, sometimes I don't set time for us because I didn't prioritize my time properly, and it wasn't a priority to spend time just Ryan and I. Sometimes I don't address issues right away because, again, I'm trying to find that shortcut and rush to a result. So start peeling this back. So take a second. Where are you lazy in your relationship with your significant other? Or if you're single, with your best friend? How are you lazy and impatient with them? So write that down in the comments. Let's peel this back, okay? It's there. We need to really think about it. Because if it wasn't there, you wouldn't have struggled with your weight loss in the first place, or with your weight gain in the first place. These are all here, and they affect every area of your life. We are just so focused on our physical appearance. That's what we think is the problem. But what we're talking about is a real problem. So, with your significant other, with your best friend, in the comments, how are you lazy and impatient with them? Let's see what you can come up with. Are you short with them? Do you have a short temper? Do you not listen to them? Are you selfish? In some ways, we're all not perfect. Let's see where we are with this. And this is a deep question, because we're now, we're not talking about past flaws or past habits anymore. We're now talking about current flaws and current habits, and that's really hard to admit. So Mackie, here we go. I get annoyed quickly. Yes, you get annoyed quickly. You're impatient. You don't take the time to talk through it, to see the other person's point of view. Now, how is that going to come up and screw you over in your weight loss journey and in your health journey? The exact same way. You're going to be impatient. You're going to rush. You're going to think about the end goal and not appreciate the process. This is how it's affecting you. She gets frustrated. Cecilia says the same thing. Arlene wants more me time, and I get annoyed when he always wants us time. This is perfect. So now we're getting to it. So can we see how this is literally like a cancer and spreads into all areas? And if we keep our blinders on and only focus in health, it's going to come back into our journey. It's just right now you've been able to push it out for a while because you're excited and motivated about your results. But it will creep back in if we don't start to tackle this in other areas. So V2 says, me and my best friend, we're both lazy and tend to get frustrated when we both have bad days. There we go. So we're both short-tempered. So in both people, this is another side. So if you're lazy and impatient and your partner's lazy and impatient, you guys are going to butt heads all the time. You're going to butt heads all the time. You're never going to be on the same page. And for the longest time, that's what Ryan and I were. When we were opening up the gym, this was our first business. We were both young. We invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. So we were strapped for money. And we were kind of stressed over our head. We were drowning. And we just so badly wanted me time. So badly wanted to decompress and relax on our own. And then when we would do that, that's kind of all the time in the day we had. We would work, me time, sleep, repeat. And then it's like, oh, well, are we partners or are we boyfriend, girlfriend? Like, are we together or are we just good roommates, right? So then you really have to peel back the layers. How is my laziness affecting this? And that means being selfless. And that means, you know, putting yourself in slightly inconvenient positions. So if they need that time, you give it to them, right? And this isn't only just for the other person, right? Although this will make the other person, it will make the other person happy, right? Because if you lead by example, they will see that, and guess what happens in return? If they know you need more me time, they're going to give it to you because you're giving them what you need, right? So it's reciprocal that way. But if you're going to do this for anybody, it's for yourself. Because who do you become when you keep putting yourself in uncomfortable positions? Who do you become when you start doing things that need to get done, even when it's inconvenient? That's who's important. That's the person you're trying to become. And putting others above yourself, even if you're feeling like being selfish, that is what elevates you in your mind. Nancy's dog agrees with me. So it's so important. So if that's in our relationship, okay, now let's go to our jobs, our career, our businesses. How are we lazy? How are we impatient in our career? Or is it, if it's school, your job, or if you own a business, how are you impatient and lazy in that? Let's see in the comments. We have to tackle this, otherwise it will pop up and it will derail you and you will be caught off guard and you will have a big setback, right? Setbacks are inevitable. We all know that, right? Our motto is it's progression over perfection. So you're going to be progressing. You're not going to be perfect, but you shouldn't have huge blowout setbacks. And this is important to set yourself up for that. So Vidhu, I don't want to deal with it. Instant gratification. Work at school board, and sometimes things happen and I miss lunch. Very frustrating. Yeah, so here we go. So this is so cool. Like, unpack this. Unpack your day. Analyze why this outcome happened. If you had a bad day, why did you have a bad day? You didn't prioritize your time properly. You didn't finish what you needed to get done because you were lazy and you pushed it off till the last minute, like you do in your workouts, like you do with your work. We see how this connects. You can't get good at one. You can't get good at pushing yourself to work out if you don't get good at pushing yourself to complete your work. This is what I'm getting at. They are interlinked, okay? Cecilia says, others have the ability to book clients for me. They don't always check with me. Yes, so this is cool. So scheduling issues. Now, this brings up a whole new issue. So how many people would say that they are annoyed at least once a day? Like, they're easily annoyed at least once a day. Yeah, put your hands up. So this comes, and now I get annoyed every day as well. I get annoyed occasionally sprinkled throughout the day. But here's the thing. I can get annoyed, but then I can check myself and realize, do I have a right to be annoyed? Have you ever asked yourself that? Do I have a right to be mad, to be upset, to be annoyed? If I haven't voiced my opinion and already thought of a solution and tried to initiate that solution beforehand, I do not have a right to get mad. So if someone schedules Cecilia and doesn't check with her, and it doesn't work with her, and it throws off her entire day, does she have a right to get mad? If she's already voiced her opinion, if she's offered a solution and blocked off time on her calendar, yes, she can be mad then. But if Cecilia has been passive aggressive, like most women, and just been annoyed silently, and talk to your girlfriends or your husband when you get home about it, then you don't have the right to get angry if you haven't already put a solution in place. Is this making sense? So this is how it can be applied practically. Okay, so this goes even deeper. So peel it back even more. So this is your career. Mackie says, I think my issue all around is constantly need to be challenged, engaged, stimulated, or I get bored and want, yes, and stuff my face. Yes. So this is huge. This is what I was talking about. So people eat usually for 3 reasons. They're procrastinating from doing something, they're bored and have nothing else to do, or they emotionally eat because they can't cope with their feelings. That's pretty much the 3 reasons why people overeat. Do you realize how simple it is to lose weight? Just don't do this action. Just don't do this action. Just stop bringing your hand to your mouth and you lose weight. But why is that so hard? Why? We just have to stop putting food in our mouths. It's so simple, but we have such a hard time because we think it's more complicated than it is, and we think it's caused by so many psychological issues, and it goes so deep, and we don't understand it, and you'll never be able to beat it. But that's not the case, right? When was the last time you had a slip up? Recently. Everybody had a slip up recently, right? Whether it was yesterday or last week, you had a slip up recently. Admit it. Move on. But what caused it? Pay attention. Don't say it was because I was busy. Don't say things like that. Say because I didn't prioritize my time, I was impatient, or I was lazy. It's usually always one of those three. And then once you know it, you can also pinpoint it in other areas. So then you can start to nip it in the bud. You can really start to pinpoint and go deep onto where these habits are coming from. So who has a bad habit that they don't like? Not related to health and fitness. We all have something about ourselves we don't like. Whether we got that from our parents, whether we got that from our significant other, whether we developed it ourselves over the years, we have some habit that we don't like about ourselves. And it's not related to fitness and health. But now, what's that habit? Ganit, procrastination, Nancy, laziness, Angela, can't say no. Beautiful. So now take that and see how that affects your journey with us, your Fit Queen journey, your weight loss journey. If you can't say no, you're not going to say no to when you're at the restaurants. You're not going to say no when someone says just one more bite. One bite won't kill you, right? If you procrastinate, you're never going to get your workouts done. You're never going to start your business. You're never going to finish school or pass the test. And it builds and it builds. So if you keep allowing these excuses and these stories to be present in your weight loss journey, it's going to show up in your personal life. And then it's going to come back to your weight loss journey. And it will keep yo-yoing back and forth. You ever wonder why you lose weight, gain it back, lose weight, gain it back? Has everybody been there? Whether it was 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds. You lose weight, you gain it back. Why? Because you haven't tackled that cause. Because you were excited and stayed motivated enough to see results. And then when it went away, that habit you had that was still there in your real life, still in other areas in your career, in your school, in your family, it crept back into your fitness and health habits. It crept right back in. So now let's look at the opposite. You guys have probably noticed that all the good habits you have right now, they're moving over into your life, right? So it affects the negative way. Negative habits in your life can affect your weight loss journey, but all the good habits you're building right now, they can affect positively in your life, right? So whose significant other is healthier and more supportive and happier now? Whose family is excited and on board and looks forward to seeing you sweat? Right? Whose friends have started to lose weight? Whose careers have started to take off because you have more energy and you're invested more? It's so crazy. It goes hand in hand. So we need to stop this linear thinking, which is really hard to do because, right, like health is forever. You're going to be learning and growing forever. But knowing that, we still are rushing to an end, right? Everybody right now, take a second. You all have a picture in your mind you're trying to reach, right? We all have this picture we're trying to reach. What happens when you reach it? Arlene, when you reach that picture, what are you going to do? Vithu, Mackie, Nancy, Cecilia, when you reach that picture, what is going to happen? Nothing. You just keep going. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. You have to keep going. And by shifting your mindset to that, you're going to be much more successful at tackling those bad habits and actually demolishing them completely and not giving them a chance to pop back up later. If you want to never worry about gaining weight back, you need to tackle the bad habits and see how they've crept in to other areas of your life. And see how they've crept in on a really deep level. So deep that we're not even going to be able to cover it or get into it on this call. This is going to be your job and your homework. How are your bad habits that led you to get fat? That led you to get fat. those bad habits, how did they spill over into your life? Or was it your life that spilled it over into your health? Whatever it was, where are they now? Okay, now you guys are pros. You were amazing fit queens. You strengthen your follow-through muscle. You restore responsibility. You're pursuing pain all the time. You're following the golden 5. But are you following the golden 5 in everything else in life? Or are you just putting it towards your fitness? It's time to start spreading out. It's time to start locking down your results for life. Long-lasting results. It's progress protection. Okay, because nobody wants to be fit for a year and then go back to where they were. No one wants to be fit for a month, fit for 5 years, right? You want to be 70 and be able to do a backflip. Is that just me? That's what I want. I want to be able to do a backflip when I'm 70 years old. I don't want to be hunched over, taking a million pills, needing help to go to the bathroom. That's not what I want. So you really have to stop and dissect what's going on and who you are and why you're acting the way that you act, and where all of your habits to your wake up times. Do you hit the snooze button? Who hits the snooze button one too many times? What does that mean? It means you're lazy, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It just means you're lazy. You need 1 more minute of sleep. Who has like 10 alarms? Who has 10 alarms? Like, really? You're telling me your day would be shit if you didn't sleep those extra 10 minutes? It would just completely ruin? No, right? So let's see. Let's take it over. Take it over to the other side. Cross that line between fitness and life, and let's live here. Live on this other side. Those are habits that will come bite your goals and bite your results in the ass. Is this making sense? It's not what you think, right? You think if I get all this shit figured out over here, you think if I lose the weight, everything else gets better automatically. But you have to work at both simultaneously. And that's where we go wrong. You've only been focusing on one, and that will lead you to that yo-yo you've been stuck on. If you just focus on getting healthy through food and through exercise, those bad habits that led you to gain that weight in the first place are still present when you press the snooze button, when you postpone doing that essay you had to do, when you postpone those things, and then it creeps back in and it shows up. So if you keep pressing that snooze button every morning, guess what? You're going to slowly start to push off that workout for an hour. Push it off for a day. Push it off for a week. Uh-oh, I haven't gone 2 weeks without exercising. And then it snowballs. And that's how people get into trouble, right? It's not one big thing that throws you off. It's not one big thing that throws you off. It's little things piling that make you doubt yourself, that chip away at your confidence, and that prove that you are a failure and prove that you aren't gonna reach that level you've never reached before because you haven't reached it, right? So some ladies listening to this call, have you reached a level you've never reached before, physically or mentally? Some of you have, some of you haven't yet. There, boom. Now you locked in this level, but we can still go down. You need to up to the next level to lock in that level you're at now. Is that making sense? So you need to continue to level up to lock in the previous level. We can't pause, we can't maintain, we can't plateau at a level physically, mentally, or emotionally. Otherwise, we'll always go down, which you guys know. You guys have messed up. You guys have cheated. You have had moments of weakness. And what happens? You go down a level. Maybe not a full level, maybe half a level, maybe a little notch. You go back a step. But if you've only elevated one level, you're not very far off from where you started. So it's not going to take much to knock you back down, right? But if you've leveled up to level 10 and you have a hiccup that only knocks you down to level 9, well, you're nowhere near where you started, and you can push and keep going. Is that making sense? And the only way you start to level up is by looking at your life as a whole on an equal playing field. Your life, your business, your work, whatever you do for a career, your family life, your friends, your hobbies, everything you do there needs to be done here. How you do one thing is how you do everything. You are only as strong as your weakest area. So what is your weakest area right now? What would you think your weakest area is right now, ladies? Write in the comments. Is it workouts? Is it mindset? Is it food? Is it communication with your children? Is it meal prepping? Like, where is it? It doesn't have to be fitness related. Productivity, ooh, that's a good one. Cheating on meal plan, working out. There you go. So you guys now know your weakest link. So instead of focusing on your weakest link, see what is that habit? How can I address it in my real life? And then it's going to kind of erase it over here in my health and weight loss life. Do we see that tactic, ladies? Do we see how that can like work through diffusion, work indirectly? So if you're struggling on sticking to the meal plan, that's like an impulse problem. It's a laziness problem, right? So how is that impulse problem showing up in your real life? Maybe you should stop hyper-focusing on the impulse with your meal plan and try to tackle it somewhere else in your life. And now that you're juggling both things slowly get better so that they're both easier to handle. Instead of putting so much pressure on following through with one thing. Is this making sense? This should be a huge light bulb moment for some of you. If you're stressing and you're turning your wheels and you haven't been progressing in some area lately, look at it on the opposite side. What different angle can I target that habit from? Big homework there. That is a huge learning lesson for you guys. So if I'm struggling with my binge eating disorder or my binge eating, disordered eating, my laziness to properly prepare and enjoy the journey, where's my laziness showing up in my life that I can fix, that I can fill those holes, which will then indirectly start to improve the way that I binge. So when I'm lazy and I'm procrastinating, it's usually in getting work done. I have to send out some emails. I have to write a new workout, like all these boring stuff that no one wants to do. If I sit down and make myself do 5 minutes of work, I'm already building on that habit. If I make a schedule, I work for an hour, take a 15-minute break, work for an hour, take a 15-minute break. If I start to build in these tips and tricks to tackle that other area, this other area becomes slightly more easier because now you've fortified it in your mind. Fortified it in your mind. So if you have mindset issues, if you're struggling, if you think you're failing, if you think, you're never going to reach your goal, or how can I be motivated? How can I be consistent to follow this plan, to see results? Well, switch it around. Where in life are you unmotivated? Where in life are you finding it hard to follow through? What other area in life? Because it's there. Find where it's coming from. Find all the areas where it's coming from, ladies. Every area you need to uncover. That is your journey. And that's why this journey requires a coach. Because there's no way you can uncover this on your own. There's no way you would even look to turn over every rock. Like, who out there says, go look at your relationship to lose weight? Like, that's just not common knowledge, right? Go look at your job to go lose weight. That's not common knowledge to think that way. So that's why it's so important to start to shift your thinking to that way. So, ladies, having said that thought, okay, homework for you guys, okay? I want you to break down your life into 3 to 5 categories. 3 to 5 categories. Okay, and then on a scale of 1 to 10, rate them. How happy are you? So your relationship, your job, your friendship, your hobby, your health, break it down, whatever is in your life. 3 to 5 categories, and rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being you're the happiest, 10 out of 10, you're happy that you're progressing, you don't think you can put any more effort there. And then the ones that are 6 and below, ask yourself, what are you doing to stop that from coming into a 7, into an 8, into a 9, into a 10? What are you doing that's stopping that happiness level? And it comes down to those habits. So ask yourself, in that category, what are the bad habits you have? So if the category is your relationship, what are the bad habits you have when it comes to your relationship? Do you not listen well? Do you nag too much? What are these habits you have that are bad, that you want to change? And then ask yourself, where is that habit coming from? Is it coming from being impatient, being lazy, or not prioritizing your time? And then once you know that, you can link every habit to each other. Okay, so then once you have those 3 to 5 categories, you've rated them and you've listed those bad habits, I now then want you to look on the health side. What's that bad habit? And instead of obsessing over that bad habit, because it's very easy to do, it's very easy to get into our heads and think, oh my God, we still have so far to go. Oh my God, am I really gonna get there? Why am I doing this? Should I just give up? Like, we think those thoughts. But now if you think of the habit that's holding you back in your health journey, and then you compare it to the habits you've just written out in the other categories, stop focusing and putting so much pressure on that weight loss one. Take some pressure off of you, and now start thinking, how can I fix this other habit first? And it will indirectly improve the other one. And that should really, really ease your mind and ease your stress going forward. Not even just for this, not today, not this week. Going forward, when you find yourself panicking, when you find yourself in the middle of a moment of weakness, right? Like, I really, really screwed up. I really don't know what I did. I really had no willpower in this moment. That's when you can think of this and say, okay, if I'm struggling to have willpower in my diet, how can I have willpower in my real life, in areas outside? And that will be a game changer. That will take you to the next level, and that will level you up faster. Faster is key here. Efficiency. It took me over 10 years to learn this shit, and you guys shouldn't have to wait 10 years. We should be leveling up constantly. Every month. Like, who you were last month. Is she the same woman you look at now in the mirror? The answer should be no. And isn't that exciting? Is that not so exciting? Oh my goodness. If you guys were to meet me 2 years ago, you'd be like, ew, who's this? Like, unmemorable, shy, negative, victim. You'd be like, who is this? That was 2 years ago. And look where I've gotten in 2 years, just 2 years. Is this not the coolest thing ever? It is so liberating. I cannot tell you how powerful I feel and how in charge of my own destiny. Regardless of all the shit storms that happen around me, I am so proud of myself. And that's the best gift you can give yourself. You can only be proud of yourself if you're proving to yourself that you are getting better and better every day on a deeper level. Because if you just go surface level, you'll hit a roof. You'll hit a point where you're not going to move anymore, where you're not going to go upwards, or you're going to plateau because you've done as much as you can physically and weight loss wise. There will become a point where you hit that roof, that ceiling. But if you look at it holistically and you start to incorporate and weave everything you're learning into your life, there's no stopping you, and there really is no ceiling. And that picture you have of yourself that you're trying to reach, right before you reach her, that picture is going to change to something else. And then you're going to keep going. And then it gets so exciting. And then the reward is the growth. The reward is that you put yourself in another uncomfortable position. The reward is that you've targeted an area in your life and actually gotten better in every area. It is so amazing. I can't even put it into words. But you first need to realize that you need to lock down your results. You need progress protection by incorporating everything you're learning into all areas of life. Otherwise, it is just a matter of time till you go back on that scale, back on that cycle of being up and down with your weight. And I don't think anybody on this call or anybody who will listen to this call wants to ever go through that again. Like, how heartbreaking. Really just heartbreaking for you, right? Heartbreaking, like your heart would break for yourself if you let yourself slip back to where you started. Because it doesn't just mean you've gained weight back. That's not what it means. It means you've digressed up here. It means you've leveled down in your mind, right? That's what that means. Doesn't mean you're fat and unhealthy and you're going to prematurely die. I mean, yeah, it does mean that. But that's not the worst part, at least for me. It's that, I proved myself right. I am a failure. That little voice in your head, the imposter syndrome we all suffer from, you prove it right when you fall back. And then that's dangerous. And that's when you start to develop intense anxiety, intense depression, and all these conditions that are associated with an unhealthy lifestyle. And it can become very easily spiraled out of control. Like, who suffers from anxiety and depression, or goes through bouts every now and then, or has it that runs in their family? It's very, very real. It's very, very real, and it's very easy to fall back. But you guys have already proven to yourself that you've made it up a level. You've made it up another level. You guys have leveled up again and again and again. And that's the exciting part. And if you keep on this track, which you all are on right now, you guys are set. You guys are set to really never reaching a ceiling, to never having a ceiling. There are no limits, zero limits. Who knows what you can accomplish? Don't you feel more powerful now? Don't you feel like, oh my God, I can kind of, maybe I'll do something different with my life, or maybe I'll do this instead. Like, life opens up when you feel powerful. You don't feel complacent, right? So takeaways from this call, ladies, I want you to do that homework. I want you to analyze every area in your life. I want you to see what area could be improved, and then what those habits are that you share with the same habits that are holding you back or slowing you down in your weight loss journey. And then take pressure off those habits you've been trying to fix. And why don't you shift your attention to the ones in the other areas of your life and see how it becomes easier when it comes to your weight loss. And that's very cool. So that is my challenge to you, ladies. Comment down below, what is your takeaway? What is your takeaway? What are you leaving this call with? What is on your mind? What is on your heart? Let's see the message that you have taken away. All depending at where you are mentally today, how far along you are in your journey. It's a big question. What are we going to do with the information today? Right? It's a cool new topic, cool new concept, and it makes sense when we talk about it, but how can we use it? How can we use it? How can we make sure we never do go back? So let's see those comments. So recognizing the bad habits and how they integrate into all. Exactly, integrate. That's a good word. Every area of life is linked. Yes. It's okay to have me time and not be annoyed easily. Yes. The reason I gained weight during those times is the same reason I wasn't in the blessed. Woo! Yes. So I'll reread that. The reason I gained weight during those times is for the same reason I wasn't in the best place in her career and her marriage. Whoa. Whoa, that's huge. That's big. When you were the biggest you were, when you were the heaviest you were, it was probably the most unhappy you were in every area. So remember that. So that means if you're the happiest you are now, every area should be happy, but you should be working on every area to continue it to be happy. Angela says, my time is important and so am I. Yes. Vithu, finding what the biggest excuse in my life is and what's stopping me from being happy. That's what it is. Peel those layers, ladies. It never gets easier. It never changes. You just become more aware and tolerant, and you build up your tolerance to your own bullshit. You build up your tolerance to your own bullshit. You don't fool yourself as easily. You don't trick yourself as easily. You can call yourself out more easily. And Ryan and I are becoming experts at that. Calling each other out, calling ourselves out. And then once you call yourself out, the painful part is over. You now then have the problem laid out in front of you, and you just pick a solution. Just pick a solution. The only reason you've been stunted or slowed down or plateaued in the past is because you didn't make a decision. You didn't make a decision because you had a lack of clarity. But if you know the problem, if you lay it out, it's very easy to find solutions and then take action. If you do not take action, something will happen regardless, and action will be made for you. And do you want someone else or something else to make decisions for you? No. So you have to be in control, which means you have to be in control of your good habits and your bad habits to make decisions for yourself. And Nancy says, recognizing that it is all connected and it's simple to correct by working on laziness, by following through. Exactly. Apply it everywhere. See where it's popping up. See where it bleeds through. I press the snooze button too sometimes. But guess what? When I go a week, 2 weeks without pressing it once, guess how effective my workouts are? Guess how on point my meals are? Because it connects. It integrates. It was amazing to see myself in the mirror and instead unhappy with the body. Oh, that's beautiful. Now she says she feels beautiful and confident woman. That was huge. You just need, that's it. When you get the main thing there, you're good. And then it's just little tweaks. And